Hey sisters, welcome back to Recruitment Takeover, our mini series on the Your Sorority Journey podcast to help you navigate the sorority recruitment experience with ease, regardless of the role that you are playing in recruitment. Today, we are finishing our potential new member week with our episode, How to Find the One. This week, we've had a blog, 7 tips, and 2 podcast episodes tailored toward our future sister friends. So our sisters who have found her sorority journey through one way or another for support and guidance before they even embark on their sorority journey. A really fun season that we like to call the Trailhead. And so today we want to help you set yourself up for success to start thinking about how you will find your perfect sisterhood and what you can do to prepare for situations that might feel pretty difficult throughout the process later down the line. I think often we have this conversation about how to find the one because we look at sorority recruitment like dating, right? There is that soulmate, that soul sisterhood out there for us that we have to go through this really difficult process to find. When in all reality, I actually think from my personal experience and from others that we all are probably pretty well suited for multiple chapters, multiple organizations. And that reveals itself through the sorority recruitment experience as you build relationships with more than one chapter, with more than one sister. And as some of those relationships continue, regardless of the chapter that you run home to. On Wednesday, Lindsay and I unpacked a little bit about the mutual selection process and how that does lead you to your forever sisterhood, but doesn't prevent you from maintaining relationships with other sisters, either in your potential new member group or the chapters that you go through recruitment with. None of those things are prevented. And none of those things prevent you from maintaining relationships with sisters outside of your organization individually. And so because of that, I think we need to look at that final decision or those final couple days of recruitment decisions a little lighter. Sometimes it can feel really heavy, like you are making this like life or death decision, which chapter you preference over another. If you want a huge fan of the chapters that you have toward the end of your process, you might be thinking, do I even want to sign the MRABA? Do I want to go through this process? And so I want to help us get really grounded in what matters in recruitment, what matters in that future sisterhood, and how can we hone in on those things and try to quiet a lot of the noise that perpetuates this belief that there's only one sisterhood out there for you. And you can only thrive, you can only have leadership opportunities and grow the right way that you're supposed to in one sisterhood. So let's start in a positive scenario, right? So pretend that you have found yourself at the end of the sorority recruitment experience, the day before bid day. It is preference. For those of you who are kind of new to the sorority recruitment process, there are different days dedicated to different purposes. And as you go through the sorority recruitment process, your number of chapters goes down each day. We talked about that, and it's not a coincidence a couple days ago. And so on the last day of recruitment, you are seeing 2, max 3 chapters. And so in this scenario that we are painting, let's pretend that the 2 chapters that you were invited to preference, who obviously think super highly of you because it is the last round of recruitment, they are giving you the biggest window into what it might be like to be a member of their organization, maybe letting you in on a little bit of their ritual, doing some sort of like intentional ceremony or sharing with you reasons why that you would be a good match with their chapter. Let's say both chapters at the end of those rounds really win you over. And you were like, I don't know what to do with myself because I have found myself at the end of this recruitment experience in love with 2 chapters, right? Like dating. What do you do when you're in love with 2 people, right? You got to make a decision, which is true in sorority just as much as it is in dating, right? So here are some factors that I think are really important to consider in that moment and in all the moments leading up to that one in the mutual selection process. I think so often some very like stereotypical surface level factors can play a role that we'll talk about later. So let's get to the depth of what matters most. I think the 3 things that you need to pull from as you are making these mutual selection decisions are what you see, what you feel, and what you know. So what you see sisters, you see decor, you see a physical house, a physical space. But through that, you're able to see connections that sisters have with one another. You're able to see through the outfits that they have like curated, and the makeup and the hair and the stories that they tell, right? You're able to see through that and feel how they have actually experienced that, right? You're able to tell if it's forced, if it's fake, if it's authentic in the small interactions that they have with other sisters, or as you see them share about their stories from up front or in those individual conversations, you will see a glimpse of what it is like to be a member of their chapter. They talk about those relationships, are those experiences that they have had, or are they listing off a calendar of events of things that they have done? It's really important that you are pulling from them their personal experiences, the ways they have personally been changed, the ways that they have personally invested in this experience. So you know from the source what membership would be like, not just getting facts that you could find on their Instagram or website, right? And then there's what you feel, right? You're able to feel and sense how they treat you, the intentionality and the time of day that they give you, right? The questions that they ask, what they want to know about you, helps you see what they are looking for in their chapter. Are they looking for someone who's going to perpetuate an image or a stereotype? Or are they looking for someone who's going to contribute to the interconnectedness of their sisterhood, the leadership development, the opportunities, the maybe even reputation that they have on campus for being really grounded sisters who care for one another and challenge one another to grow? So how do you feel in the room? And then finally, what do you know, right? Maybe you know things about this chapter from a variety of different sources outside of the room. Maybe you know what their philanthropy is. Maybe you know a sister from a different season of life. Maybe you went to high school with her. Use that information too to pull together what it means to be a member of that chapter. And those sources that you are gaining that knowledge from need to be reputable, right? We'll talk about this later, but Greek Rank, Yik Yak, TSM are not fraternity men are not reliable sources into the actual lived experiences of members in that chapter. The Fraternity and Sorority Life website will be upfront if a chapter is on probation or if there's anything hindering your fullest membership experience. Same goes with national organizations pages, their local websites, their Instagram, right? Those are all reputable sources of information for you to understand what it means to be a member of that chapter or organization. And so coming back to how you feel, what you see, and what you know can really ground you in that moment and help you evaluate, does one seem like more of a fit than the other, right? Because we need to look at what you see, what you feel, and what you know through the lens of what you need, right? So there's all these things that a chapter has to offer through relationships, through their care and concern for you, through even like how they make you feel. But none of that matters if it doesn't align with what you're looking for from a sorority, right? And so in some of the tips we've been giving this week, we've talked about how important it is that you know what matters most to you, because the criteria with which you are going into these recruitment conversations or mutual selection decisions are going to be different PNM to PNM, potential member to potential new member. They're going to look different because you all are different. You are all coming in with different unique needs and criteria for membership. And so filtering through what you see, what you feel, and what you know through the lens of what you need, what your values are. Maybe you are looking for like a really fun experience that's going to get you out of your comfort zone, connected to other people on campus. Maybe you're looking for an experience that's really going to help you thrive academically or strive toward a new career path later on. Maybe you're looking for like that networking piece. Maybe the philanthropy or the community service is really important to you, that you have a personal relationship with that. So whatever your values are, use those to filter through your experience with that chapter to help you evaluate one versus the other. Because that's an ideal situation, right? You have fallen in love with two chapters. It's important to know what criteria means more, right? What values are being embodied and exemplified in each chapter a little bit more than the other, and learning how to prioritize, how to consider which ones take precedent, and making your mutual selection decisions based on those. Using your values as a roadmap can help make those end of recruitment decisions a lot easier. But what will make those decisions easier is if you implement that kind of decision-making from round one. So every round you are making decisions in light of your values. The chapters that you end up with in the end, you really can't go wrong with. Now, on the other end of things, what if on preference round, you aren't feeling super connected to maybe one or either of the chapters? I would encourage you to do the same thing, right? Look through what you see, what you feel, and what you know, and evaluate what is missing in those areas. Does it feel fake and forced? Do you not feel seen and cared for? And is what you know not aligned with what you need? More often than not, what we know and the sources that we are gaining that information from are influencing our decision more than our experiences in the recruitment room with recruiters, getting the experience, hearing those like testimonials of membership experience in that chapter. Because truthfully, sister, the difference of your membership experience from chapter to chapter won't be dramatic. Basically, every chapter does the same kinds of events, hosts the same date parties, the same socials, has some kind of philanthropic initiative, meets weekly, has a focus on sisterhood, is involved in the community. And so what you're really looking for is other sisters who you can run alongside for that purpose, for that mission. And so if at the end you get to this point where as you are looking through your values, there is an inconsistency with what you see, feel, and know about a chapter, that's a situation in which I would recommend ranking them very low throughout early phases of the process, and obviously lowest as you go into preference. If for whatever reason, something that you see, feel, or know completely contradicts what you value, that's a situation in which you might just choose to single intentionally preference, just choose one chapter that you will say you'll accept a bid from, knowing that that will significantly limit your chances of accepting a bid to that chapter. Listing both will maximize your options without guaranteeing that you will accept a bid to your top choice. If you have more questions about single intentional preferencing or the MRABA, definitely ask your recruitment counselor or head to day 8 on Recruitment Ready Tips and Trips, where we dive into that a little bit more. So let's talk about some of these sources of bias that really hinder our decisions, right? Because each P&M values different things, because each and every one of you who are going through recruitment have a different goal, in mind of what your ideal sisterhood will look like, you will all have different opinions about different chapters, right? And I think one of the biggest thieves of joy in the recruitment process is comparison, right? It rips us of the opportunity to have our own experience, to get delighted and excited about what different sisterhoods have to offer as soon as we hear something from another sister, negative or an awkward experience, or something that she heard from a fraternity party that contradicts the experience we just had. I remember as a PNM leaving some chapters that I was really excited about, and those negative comments I would hear from my other sisters actually made me embarrassed about sharing my positive ones. And so it's really important as you go into recruitment to not only guard the comments that you are listening to, but also guard the comments that you're making too, because you never know what experience another potential member is looking for. And the beauty of having different panel-length chapters on a campus, while the experiences don't vary that greatly, is it does create that variety for potential new members to find the right fit for them. Another thief of joy in the recruitment process is Greek rank, yik yak, fraternity men, any other stereotypically focused group that is detracting from the values-based experience of the sorority. Oftentimes, these sites are really pulling from superficial sources of ranking. They have zero depth to them of the heart's intentions, and like personal growth experiences that these chapters have to offer. And so by checking them before you go through recruitment, you're actually really limiting yourself from the fullest experience and a values-based experience that the chapters are preparing for you. Same thing with fraternity men's opinions. They are on a different planet sometimes when it comes to recruitment and the purpose that new members have in finding their sisterhood. I think fraternity men are an exemplary group when fraternity is done right, just as sorority is an exemplary group when sorority is done right. But we know they both have their faults. So it's really important to separate your experience from any fraternities opinions of different organizations, because those might also be rooted in superficial biases. And a final group that I think can really dictate your experience is any legacies, right? So if anyone else in your family or anyone you know was a member of a panelite group on your campus, there can oftentimes feel like there's some pressure to follow in their lineage. But I think it's really important that things can change, especially between the time our parents go to college and we go to college. Same thing goes with a sibling that's just 4 or 3 years apart. Organizations can change, and you are entitled to your own experience. It doesn't need to mimic or match another sister's. If it's your mom's, if it's your grandma's, if it's your biological sister or a cousin. And so keeping in mind that you get to navigate your own sorority journey free of bias or expectation creates a lot of freedom for you to make decisions in your best interest. There is a group of people in the recruitment process who can work wonders in helping you make the best decisions for you, your values, and your personal growth that you want to accomplish in sorority. And they're called recruitment counselors. Each campus might call them something a little different, if it's a Pi Chi or a Rho Gamma, whatever the case. These sisters are unbiased mentors dedicated to supporting you in your recruitment journey. They want to hear about the highs, the lows, the discomforts, the concerns, and the excitement. Don't be afraid to pull them aside and talk to them honestly about how you're feeling. It's really important, though, to be both respectful while honest, keeping in mind that you don't know potentially this sister's affiliation. Some schools are now allowing the recruitment counselors to share their affiliation while still putting it on the side as an irrelevant factor in their mentorship of you. But it's really important to speak respectfully regardless about every organization, knowing that as you step into this Panhellenic community, Panhellenic sisterhood can never be stronger in individual chapters than it is in the community at large. And so even if you have an awkward or less than satisfactory experience in a chapter, continue to speak positively and respectfully about them, even if they aren't the right chapter for you. But speaking respectfully, honestly, can help a recruitment counselor mentor you really well and help guide you through the process without an agenda of which chapter you should end up in. Finally, we think that it is really important for potential new members to walk into recruitment confidently, knowing that how you find the one is based on the questions you ask and the things that you look for. We talked about this earlier when we were talking about looking at what a chapter has to offer through the lens of your values. I think some really great questions to ask to really prompt that process are: what does sisterhood look like outside chapter events? You want them to share their experiences that aren't curated by the chapter, that they have to take individual ownership of their sisterhood. Another question I love for potential new members to ask is, what's your favorite memory from your time as a new member? To give you a glimpse of what you can expect of your first couple months in the chapter. Tell me about your relationship with your big or another significant sister in the chapter. Not every big and little relationship is perfect, but getting a glimpse of how they're personally building relationships can help you get excited about the network that you'll have in their organization. And finally, what kind of impact has sorority life had on your college experience? These are some questions just to get the ball rolling in your head of how you get the answers to the questions that you have to help establish if what this organization has to offer from what you see, feel, and know will align with your personal values. Another resource that we have as a sorority educational platform is our course called the Her Sorority Journey course Trailhead. And that is for potential new members to gain both expectations of what chapters are going to be looking for from them and what you all can expect from chapters, right? There is a give and take in the sorority relationship, and we want you to have all the answers. So if you are looking for a course to help you go deeper into knowing what to expect from your sorority membership, head to the link in the show notes or just below the video here. We are super excited to support you in your sorority journey, regardless of where that takes you, what that looks like, and as you get started in recruitment. This concludes our potential new member week, but definitely stick around for the upcoming weeks to learn a little bit more about how recruiters are preparing, how recruitment counselors are preparing, and our last week, which is for everyone around burnout, energy, and how to sustain really positive attitude throughout recruitment. See you next time, sister.